everybody, how are you doing? My name is Brick and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I like to do stories that are based on crime out of Michigan. I've been born and raised in Michigan, and I do love series like Dateline, 48 Hours, Snap, stuff like that. Anything that's dealing with criminal. Blame it on my degree in criminal justice, maybe, but anyhow, I like to do so, and I like to chill and enjoy a glass of wine. So I want you to enjoy this also with me, talking about crime over a glass of wine, and unwind with me. So, you didn't see that, right? So anyhow, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I am also a mother, so happy Mother's Day if you're a mom. Today, being Mother's Day, I also want to wish happy Mother's Day to this mother in particular. Her name is Brenda Simpson out of Flint. Brenda Simpson did not give up on her son when he needed her the most. And that was what she did, and she brought justice to her son. A horrible, horrible crime that we're going to talk about today. His name concerning is Alan Christopher Brown. He was 11 years old. He lived in Flint, Michigan, when he was ultimately drugged and murdered, okay? Basically, he was given a lot of alcohol. That was the drug, alcohol induced, and also not just alcohol, that liquor alcohol, it was isopropyl alcohol also that was found in his system. He was drugged, and also he was sexually abused, okay? So very, very horrific crime that happened to this young boy of 11 years old. And the most horrifying details of this story is that it was by someone that was very, very close to him that has done this to him. And we hear this so much, and I am so disgusted by this crime. You know, we're supposed to protect our children, and when I mean our children, all children, okay? And the mere fact that anyone can do anything to a child is just absurd to me, and especially someone that is related to you or very close to you. So, for this case, I would need a glass of wine to tell this horrific story. So, this case was an old case. It happened, the crime happened in year 2008, okay? No, I'll take that back. This crime happened, he was last seen in year 2095, okay? Like I said, this is truly an old case, okay? This case almost went unsolved. Okay, it took 20 years to even solve this case, okay? 20 years to even solve this case. So let's get into the horrific details about this case, okay? Young Alan, 11 years old, like I said, he was ultimately drugged, and he was murdered and left to die, in which he did, in the Flint River almost 20 years ago. But it was by the hands of his stepmother and his uncle. Yes, his stepmother and his uncle. Okay, so Alan used to go visit his father on the weekends, okay? And he used to always do so. And his mother noticed a change in him. You know, he would, you know, no longer wanted to go visit his father on the weekends. You know, so much that it bothered the father. You know, he even this particular weekend told Alan he would take him camping and fishing if he was to come over. So Alan said, okay. He came over to go camping and fishing with his father. His father had worked this particular day. He went to work and he left his son in the care of his wife, Rosalind Brown. So Rosalind Brown was watching over young Alan. She also had 2 young girls at the house, 2 daughters. So she told her daughters that she was going to a job interview. So she told her daughters to watch over Alan while she was gone. In the meantime, when she get back, you know, she's looking for Alan, she says, and can't find him. He's nowhere to be found. So, you know, she contacts his father, contacts his mother, the family, everyone's looking for Alan. His father, where he lives at, Alan pretty much doesn't know the area very well. So his mother says that, Brenda Simpson, she says that, hey, Alan would never go anywhere. She would never go, he would never leave without letting anyone know where he's going. And furthermore, he doesn't even know this area. So as time went by, it started getting dark outside. When the street lights came on, Miss Simpson really knew something was wrong, because she said Alan would always make it home before the street lights were on, okay? Always, okay? So, you know, they started putting up flyers and all kinds of, you know, just looking for him, you know, neighborhood people, everyone just looking for young Alan. They even, you know, checked all the reports of the sex offenders in the area and noticed someone had recently, a man had recently was released from prison who was interested in young boys. And so they had an interview with this man, and you know, he let everyone know that, hey, the authorities know that he would have never ever sexually assaulted or kidnapped Alan, because although he liked young boys, he does not like his type. He does not like black boys, okay? Only white boys like himself. And thank you, we're not offended by that also, I might add. So he wanted everyone to know that I would have never done anything or would have been next to Alan, because I don't even like his type, his kind, okay? So meanwhile, the search is on for Alan. 18 days later, his body was recovered in the Flint River, okay? So a toxicology report was done, and you know, like I said, they found the alcohol in his system. His mother, you know, she couldn't understand how he was even near water. Alan didn't know how to swim. He didn't even like water. But she did wonder, did the father have something to do with him being in the water, because, you know, he did promise him fishing and camping, and maybe something could have went wrong, and you know, maybe it terrified him, and you know, whatever, he didn't come true with some things. So she did have his father's employment verified of the day in question that he became missing, or was he at work or not, and he was there. So they pretty much eliminated him as one of the suspects, the father. Miss Simpson also knew that it had to be some kind of foul play. Although the authorities was like, no, the police, everybody, the investigation just thought that maybe this young child, who never, ever, ever came close to even trying to want any alcohol, drunk some alcohol. And maybe, you know, he just became so intoxicated that he ended up accidentally drowned in the river. No. His mother wasn't buying it, and she knew it wasn't true. She tried her best to get them to understand this, and she couldn't even move on with her life because of this horrible, horrible thing that happened to her son, and no justice was done. You know, family members and people around her kept telling her to just be done with it already, move on. It is what it is. She said, no, I can't. And I don't blame her. I can't. I need to find out what happened to my son. It got to be so much for her to bear that she actually had to move to California to get away from Michigan. She couldn't even live in the same state that this happened with her son. But as time went on, she got the strength and encouragement to come back to try to get justice for her son. And thank you, she did that. She did that, and yes, it happened. So, she came back from moving from California. This is like 17 years later, mind you. Go to the police, and she's letting them know, hey, please reopen up my case concerning my son's disappearance and murder. So they opened up the case. She noticed something, a name that was in the file written on a piece of paper. The name just said Kathy, Kathy. C-A-T-H-Y. And it was she know that, it was a lot of leads that used to come through, you know how when someone's missing, people call in with sightings and leads and information. But Kathy was pretty much just stored away with the rest of the leads. So after further investigation, she noticed that Kathy, when she called in, she actually told the authorities that Alan was in the water, that he was in the Flint River. Now the crazy thing about it is, at the time that she called in, no one knew that this young boy was even in the Flint River. His body hadn't even been recovered at that time. So how did she know he was in the water? Okay, how? So if they would have paid attention to this back then, it wouldn't have took over 20 years for this case to get solved, trust me, okay? Someone pretty much dropped the ball on that. So they got in touch with Miss Kathy, found out that Miss Kathy had a strong connection with the family. She was married to the stepmother, which was Rosalind Brown, brother. His name was Montel Pettiford. Her name was Kathy Pettiford. She was actually at one point married, and at the time when this happened with the young Alan, she was his wife. So when they talk to her now, she tells the police that back then she was terrified, and so she did not really come forward like she should have now, because her life was threatened, because she knew a lot. She knew the whole story of what went down. Her life was threatened, and this was what happened, she said. She said that one day when he came over, which was back, like I said, over 20 years ago, to visit his father this particular weekend, 4/12 of 2095 is when he was last seen. She said that she was asked to cook this young child some eggs, some scrambled eggs. And she said that her husband, then husband, who also had at the time a small newborn child, a small infant child, to make young Alan some scrambled eggs. And she watched him and Miss Brown put rubbing isopropyl alcohol in his eggs, and alcohol liquor made him drink that out of a bottle and intoxicate him. She said she seen them do this, and they left with him. They left with young Alan, both of them holding an arm. When they came back home to where they resided, they had mud all over their shoes, and Alan was not with them. He wasn't with them. And he pretty much told Kathy, his wife, that if you mention anything about this, I will kill you. So now, at this present time, she had divorced him. So she felt comfortable telling the story. She didn't feel like her life is no more, jeopardized, she wasn't fearful of telling the story now. So They exhumed his body, test his stomach, and now everything, like he didn't have no water in his stomach, they can tell from then. So they knew that he basically was, you know, it had to be more than him just drowning because of the toxicology report, and also how the conditions of his stomach was. There wasn't no water in his stomach. However, he also had an alcohol level of 1.5, which is pretty much a lot of alcohol. You know, you would have to consume that really fast, and for him not to have even drunk alcohol, it was very unlikely that this child had done that on his own. Okay, so, you know, after doing further investigation, they also found out that this young child was also sexually abused. Actually, he was sexually abused by Mr. Montel Pettiford. And so that's one of the reasons, I'm sure that's probably the reason why he never wanted to, he stopped wanting to come over to visit his father for the weekends. So due to that, that was the change in his not wanting to come visit his father. Being sexually abused, being medicated with this alcohol, and drowned was ultimately the horrible fate that this child had to go through. By whom? His stepmother and his uncle. You know, stepmother and step-uncle, you know, they're married, so his uncle. You know, it's terrible, you know, that this had to come about. You know, the mere fact that this mother was told, she said so many times, to just get over it, move on with your life, be done with it. I don't know who could even tell anyone that, especially a mother. Okay, but so May 23rd, 2007, they were charged, Rosalind Brown and Montel Pettiford, for these horrific crimes, and they both have life in prison. Life. They're never getting out, dying in prison. Thank you Jesus for that. And August 26, 2008, they both were given their guilty verdicts. Okay, guilty as charged. That was a special occasion. So we went from 1973 to 2008 for them to actually be charged. Okay, do you see all that time span? Now let's talk about this part right here. From 95 to 2008, Mr. Justine Brown, which is Alan Brown's father, still was married and still was living with Rosalind Brown, his child's killer. Let me have a sip on that. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine your child is missing, became missing, murdered, and come to find out you're living with the killer? You're married to the killer all these years later? Can you imagine that? I am so sure Mr. Justine Brown, ooh, I feel so sorry for that man. I feel so sorry for the whole family to have to endure this kind of pain, okay? So let's talk about their Otis. Otis is the online tracking system here in Michigan that we have that basically gives you details about their crime. As I told you in previous videos, here in Michigan, we have like 30 male prisons and only one female prison, okay? And so Rosalind Brown is at the only female prison here, and it's called Huron Valley Women's. And as you can see on her Otis, she is here forever, for life. And then Montel Pettiford, her brother, he's at the Muskegon prison, and as you can see on his oldest, he is also in here forever, for life, where they truly, truly believe. So let's just take a look at them one last time. Look at those eyes. Evil. Evil, evil, evil. Just pure evilness. Evilness. Purity, evilness. Can you just look at them? Horrible. Horrible. So yes, this show has been aired on a series of this. It's called Unusual Suspects. Okay, you can find it on Hulu. Little Boy Lost, season 5, episode 10. Okay, if you have Hulu, go to Unusual Suspects. Okay, and series 5, episode 10, Little Boy Lost, and you can see everything that the mother was saying about how basically everyone was telling her that she should just be done with this. Just move on with your life. Are you serious? Get over it. And she did not. She moved out of state, moved back, gathered her composure, and she did what she was supposed to do as a mother, and that's fight for your child. So, happy Mother's Day, Brenda Simpson. And happy Mother's Day to all also. And if you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. Help a girl out. Give me a thumbs up. And I will be back with another crime story pretty soon. Don't forget, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.